Welcome to this video in which I show you different variations for the glute bridge. The glute bridge really is one of, I would really say one of the best exercises we can do because it's nicely giving stimulus to the posterior chain, strengthening hip extension, which is really important. And if we're doing it correct, we are reducing the stress on the lower back. The thing is that we can do this exercise, or let's say the glute bridge is really one of these exercises for which we can make some, or in which we can make some mistakes. And because of that, we could do this for 1 year and we could have bad results or nothing is changing, or we can do it for 1 year and everything changed. Yeah, so this is important again. Also for all the other things, the intention is always super important. And in the glute bridge, this is getting clear. So if you are lying on the back, you don't just want to push the pelvis up. Yeah? But first, find a nice little contraction for the abdominal muscles when you exhale. So you inhale, you exhale, find a nice little contraction here, so this area is just engaged. Also, you're tilting your pelvis slightly into posterior, so tilting the pelvis back. So the lower back is also touching the floor. Yeah, there's no space in which I can go with my hand. Good, this is the first thing. The second thing, before I do a repetition, so before I move the pelvis up, I make sure to have a pre-contraction. Yeah, this means I really want to push the feet into the floor as hard as possible to really engage the posterior chain muscles of the leg. Yeah, so make sure to really push the feet into the floor without lifting the pelvis, just pushing the feet into the floor, feeling how the posterior chain muscles are engaged through this. And then you can do your repetition. Yeah? Keeping pushing the feet into the floor. So, pre-contraction, and then up. Good. The third important cue, when you are pushing up, you don't want to push yourself back like this, but rather want to pull yourself together, let's say. So, one thing is you're pushing up and then you're not pushing the feet like this, but more like into the floor and then pulling the heels towards the butt. Yeah? But of course, because you're pushing into the floor, the feet are not moving. It's just this isometric contraction. And at the same time, you also can think that you are moving or kind of pulling your shoulders towards your butt. So you're kind of folding the floor. Yeah, so instead of doing this, opening this angle, you're doing this. Then you will feel how the whole chain is engaged, and this is then really addressing the muscles we want to train with this exercise, instead of loading the lower back without reason. Yeah. So always keep this intention clear when you're doing one of the variations of the glute bridge. Posterior pelvic tilt, abs engaged, not too crazy, but there's an engagement. Then pushing the feet into the floor, having the pre-contraction. The muscles are contracted already before you go up. And then the third one, thinking of pulling yourself together rather than pushing away. So again, I'm finding a nice little contraction in my abs. Then I'm also making sure that I have my pelvis slightly in posterior pelvic tilt. Then I find my pre-contraction, pushing the feet into the floor as hard as possible. And if I have done all this, I do my repetition. I keep the contraction also when I'm going down. And when I'm at the top, I try to increase the contraction even more. So find really at the top of the motion, find also the top of the contraction. Then also remember that you shouldn't push away like this, but rather pulling together like this. Yeah. So this is all for the bilateral glute bridge. This is the first single leg variation in which you grab one leg. Yeah, so you tuck this leg and you grab it with both hands and then use exactly the same specifications, but of course now you do it one-legged. And because of that, you may find it harder to really find a good contraction. For this reason, we are doing this variation, because with the other leg tucked, it helps to reduce the stress on the lower back a bit, to really learn the contraction for the single leg version. Then this is the regular single leg version with the free leg up to the ceiling. And again, follow the same specification, finding a good contraction for the abs, having the pelvis and posterior pelvic tilt, finding the pre-contraction, really pushing the foot into the floor, and then also pulling together, squeezing the glutes at the very top, and also keeping the contraction when lowering down. Then this is the next single leg variation, in which you have the free leg more to the front, so the hip is also more open. This is similar to a running position, and because of the lever, it's also more intense. Yeah, but other than that, follow exactly the same specifications. Then another single leg variation, now with more range of motion. So for this you need something to elevate your foot on and also to elevate your shoulder on. The setup of mine is not perfect, so I would recommend you to use a bench if you have. This just makes it easier, and then make sure that you are just putting your shoulders on the elevation, and then again using the same specifications but working over a greater range of motion.